What was it?
Is there a Dollar Tree?
A Dollar Tree?
Not right now, but later. We need storage bags for the chicken.
Chicken.
Maybe too expensive.
I like the idea that, the time travels, you don't know the time travels, but it is hinty. So I go to Alaska for not just training, but they also have a compound there underground, about almost a mile deep underground. No napkin for me. And you see Jed and Droopy playing Dungeons and Dragons, rolling the die. Very, very deep. In Alaska, it's like a thing comes out of nowhere. And you get the loyalty. They're down there for a reason. They all like the idea of a nuclear explosion. Possibly over this beautiful snowy horizon. I could survive for years and years and years underground. They'll probably kill everybody, and they'll run out of nukes eventually. And with the civilization being purified, they're prepared to rise from Alaska, hence the shepherds of Alaska, and rebuild civilization with authority and pretty good weaponry. At that point, the weapon of choice would be the Macmillan TAC 50. It's a nice little gun. The new one is actually pretty good. It's got a pistol grip. And also the HK7 with silencer or without. It can shoot, if I'm not mistaken, I gotta get this clear, but it shoots, I believe, 10 bullets about that long. So there's 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it's every, I don't know, something about 2 seconds or something, but it's very powerful because it's 1 bullet, 2 bullet, 3 bullet, 4 bullet, 5 bullet, 6 bullet, 7 bullet, 8 bullet, 9 bullet, and 10 bullet pretty much at the same time. So if the first one doesn't get through, then the second or the third or the fourth or the fifth or the sixth or the seventh or the eighth or the ninth or the 10th, and like almost instantaneously, all at the same time, in spurts. So those two will keep them pretty good. And then, of course, they got the bear and the drones. So Jed has at least 51 drones, represents something, and he likes to fly them. And, you know, everyone else, the dwarf's there. Doc Shelby, yeah, the dwarf. They're probably talking about time travel. And then Shelby, Lady Shelby's there, and Miss Shroom, and the bear, and whoever else wants to join. And they're all in this recreation room, either playing Dungeons and Dragons or talking about time travel. I like that scene. So, Quentin Tarantino has hit upon many aspects of, well, his writing. Mostly a writer is how he got discovered. And he does hit upon the black exploitation as well as the Jew or Hebrew exploitation, and as well as the Christian exploitation. There are hints of Satanism in Hateful Eight and pretty much the rest of it. So he exploits because he was raised in the black exploitation cinema, literally. His parents helped him with that, I believe, or he got led to it as a young age and put in front of the television for far too long. The exploitation also has two levels. It has the reality of the fiction, or you could just say the fiction, and our normal day, what we're dealing with. Meaning, Harvey Keitel, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is a Polish Hebrew. And you would say Hebrew, you wouldn't say Jew, because Jew is slang. It's like saying the N-word. It's saying they're all from Judea. They're not all from Judea. They're Hebrew. So Keitel is Hebrew. While, and you're looking at Reservoir Dogs, because that's the big one, where he plays Mr. White. And you have a guy named Tim Roth, who did a movie called Made in Britain, who probably most likely has some kind of Christian connection. And then you have the Hebrew and the Christian fighting it out among these other champs, exploiting every aspect of everything that he could get a hold of, for the sake of many reasons. It's very complex and layered. It's a lot of stuff. Look at these trees right here. That's nice right here. All those trees. Now, Hateful Eight, of course, is when he really gets into his heightened aspect of filmmaking with music, because it's the only one that he uses his own personal, well, his own score, his own, I guess, I don't know who came up with the score. I'm sure he probably helped with it. But it's the only film of the 9, and I think there's supposed to be 10 by now, but there's only 9, that has its own score. I would say personal score, because films are personal. And they have a score. They can have a score. You can have a score. Like, for example, Sylvester Stallone and Rocky. Da-da-da, da-da-da. I think that's a score, but it may not be. Anyway, well, well, okay, probably we'll say that there is. But Clint Eastwood did a lot of scores too, but Quentin didn't. But he did for Hateful Eight. And he's probably trying to say something with Hateful Eight, which is actually a pretty good film. It's a Western too. And this is second Western, because Django, I think, could be considered a Western as well, which is black exploitation for sure, with maybe German exploitation. German exploitation as well, and Nazi exploitation for Inglourious Bastards, as well as Hebrew exploitation as well. So I have a theory why Quentin Tarantino why Quentin exploits so many different nations. And it's the same reason why Shakespeare did the exact same thing. Exploit is almost the same as explore. You just change it from exploit to explore. He wanted to explore these people that he created. And they all have backgrounds. They all come from somewhere. Now, the people come from somewhere. Harvey Keitel came from somewhere. So did Tim Roth. And so did the characters to a certain degree. So they mutate. That's what acting is. It's taking a person in real life and then mutating them. And he's no longer Harvey Keitel, but then he's Mr. White. Could you imagine James Lipton in that role? He's got his cigarette. He's like trying to get and he pulls out these blue cards. He pulls out these blue cards. And he's, tell me, Mr. Orange, what is your favorite sound? Anyway, so I guess to explore. I don't know. It's colorful. But I am looking forward to his next movie. Now, he has mentioned something about film critics, like gone crazy. So he has like become what he, that makes sense because he threw away the film critic from what rumors, from articles he was doing. He was using Tom Cruise and, was it Brad Pitt or Leo? It was someone else. I don't know. It was Tom Cruise and someone else. And then he just threw away the whole thing. And now he's basically a film critic with Roger Avery. But they're doing VHS podcast. It's like they're watching VHS movies from the video archives that they used to work for. Now they own it, and now they're watching the movies and talking about them, like Piranha and things like that. For the sake of probably archive history, it doesn't. On YouTube, it doesn't get a lot of attention, but supposedly on Sirius Radio, which is the older crowd, the radio, it's supposed to have gone like completely wild. Because people they'll drive like 3 or 4 hours and they'll listen to it. I would. Whenever I drove with my family, there was a thing called, and I hope they're still around, because I rarely ever access my podcast anymore. What were they? They were like very similar to Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel. There were 2 of them. They were critics. They're probably still. I'm going to look at them in just a minute. They do reviews, and they're like legitimate critics. One of them has a kid. He talks about his kid quite a bit, which kind of annoys me a little bit. But they both tackle movies like legitimately, and I cannot think of their names. It's a podcast. I think the word film is in it. Let me look it up, and then I gotta get some gas. I'm gonna picture it. The film critics I'm talking about is not Quentin Tarantino or Roger Avery. They're more like VHS critics. These are the real film critics, because we had one. They were Roger Ebert, yes, and they were Gene Siskel. Okay, these guys are from Filmspoting, and they are pretty real. I'm gonna get their names. Adam Kempenaar and Josh Larson, and one of them, or at least I know for sure, it's coming out of probably Chicago. Exactly like your Roger Ebert and your Siskel, your Gene Siskel. Almost exact. And they do have a podcast, and I've listened to it. About to throw it on in just a minute. You get the commercial aspect of the modern day cinema. When you go to the movie theater, you walk up to the movie theater and you see this movie, that movie, that movie, that movie playing. These are the headline movies. Quentin does not do that. Neither does Roger Avery. They will review their own selections of VHS and things like that. These guys are reviewing the movies that are out today. Whether they go on Netflix, whatever, it's the movies. And they're pretty good.
You're not interested in art?
No.
Now look, we're going to do this thing. We're going to have a conversation.
Kempenaar.
Do you think that tennis is about expressing yourself?
Sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients
ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music.
Sometimes I have a
It's the
problem
ultimate
hitting the
soundtrack for
button.
creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
We're not interested to do this thing. We're going to have a conversation.
From Chicago, this is Filmspotting. I'm Josh Larson.
And I'm Adam Kempenaar.
Do you think that tennis is about
What is it? Luca Guadagnino's Challengers. I think I've got a good mix of both of those types of performers this year. So looking forward to digging into them.
Along with all that performance talk, and Maria, starring Angelina Jolie, that's later in the show. Right off the bat here, Josh, we've been teasing this here and there for maybe the past month or so, and we're ready to make a big announcement. Maybe the biggest announcement in the show's history. I don't know.
Huge. It's in some ways many years in the works, an idea that was thrown out there a long time ago by either you or Sam, an idea that was picked up or thought of by a listener more recently.
Yeah.
But really fair to say this is an idea that started 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago.
It did. I mean, we had delusions of grandeur, Sam and myself, when the show began. As soon as we got one publish on the very first podcast, not much production back in those days, Josh. I think we recorded it on a Sunday afternoon.